Hello, everyone. This may or may not be a test stream. We will see how it goes. I had some spare time to
Hello,
jump on
everyone.
here.
This
Oh,
may or may
hold
not
on.
be.
All right. Well, at least we know that you can hear me. So let me pull up my chat here. We're going to try this restream. Hey, Christy. Hey, Justice. Yeah, good to see you guys as well. I did try to do this yesterday. I think Christy, you were here. And it didn't go so well. My computer runs like it's from like 1985, unfortunately. So I don't have the best computer whatsoever for streaming, which is not a good thing considering that I'm a streamer. But obviously that takes money and well, you know how that goes. So um I'm going to try and go I'm gonna try to play the video and then talk about it, but if not, then I will just talk about the or I'll just show the screenshots and talk about it from there. But the video that we're going to start off with today is some very damning information that I found on the case, which I think is like probably one of the biggest finds that I found when going through the discovery and investigating this case for over 3 years now. So but that is the burning question is why Nicole Kessinger's text messages were never released or why they weren't recovered. So we know that Kobach had said in multiple times in her interviews, this is very important, Miss Kessinger. We need we're dealing with like a 4-person homicide here. It's very important that we get those text messages for this investigation. Um, and so, like I said, he said it multiple times, but come to find out, law enforcement didn't do what they needed to do in order to retrieve or recover those deleted text messages and this is, remember, based off the official narrative. This is, actually, if we're supposed to believe what we're being told in the discovery and in this narrative is actually true and not based off of my theory, but it does support my theory, you know, a lot as far as inconsistencies and stuff with this case. So, let me know if I'm like buffering or anything like that. I don't have my headphones in, so I won't be able to know. Um, so I'll have to rely on you guys for that if you could. Um, so, it's difficult with the fact that we're dealing with the discovery that has so many inconsistencies in it. I cannot talk. Inconsistencies in it. Hey, Dave. Um, and just red flags and things don't add up. So when someone or a channel creator goes, well, I'm getting all my facts from the discovery, but then they turn around and say, well, um, I don't believe anything that law enforcement says. There's too many inconsistencies. Well, it's like, well, then how can you say that you're getting your facts from a discovery that doesn't add up? And there's so many inconsistencies in it. That just doesn't make sense to me. But like I said, if we're supposed to go based off of the narrative of the discovery, then this is what we're going to go off of with what I found. So you know how many times we've heard over and over and over again why were Nicole Kessinger's text messages not recovered? Why were they not released? And that's what I'm going to go ahead and explain to you. Now, this is an old video, but again, I think it's important to go over these because people are still asking to this day why they weren't recovered. And I've posted a video a long time ago saying this is why they weren't recovered. And they even admit in the discovery, if we're going to go, like I said, based off of what they're saying, law enforcement saying in that discovery, they're actually admitting to the fact that they did not do what they needed to do in order to recover those deleted text messages. Now, if they would have, we wouldn't have the entire true crime community trying to figure out whether or not Nicole Kessinger had anything to do with these quote unquote murders, or if she had, if she murdered anybody or not, or whatever, if she played any role in it whatsoever. We wouldn't be sitting here doing that if they released them. There's a reason why in these events they do certain things. There's certain tactics that they use um, to make it so it just pushes the narrative forward. They don't have to do everything that you would do in a normal investigation, like actually investigate the mistress who should have been the prime suspect. considering that she was the closest person to Chris Watts. So it's just not real life. Like, you don't just stop investigating a crime because somebody confesses. Like, especially if there's inconsistencies, like it's not because they're just like they redacted information or whatever. No, they cherry picked information that they wanted to give us that supports their narrative, that pushes the narrative along enough to get their agenda out there. And that's what they have the mainstream media for, to do as well. And if you'll notice, the mainstream media with these cases, especially like with Summer Wells, with Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie, like if you'll notice, they push and push and push out this narrative, and it's all over the place. You can't turn your head with, or like turn on your TV without hearing about it, or turn on YouTube without hearing about it in the YouTube community. And but then all of a sudden it just stops. Like you don't hear from mainstream media ever again, even though there's like clearly there's inconsistencies with these cases. So you would think as journalists they would want to figure out what in the hell is going on. It's not just us in the true crime community that are all like weird and like, oh, why nothing adds up and we're just making stuff up. No, clearly something is not adding up with these cases. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna try to play the video, but if it doesn't work, then I just might have to do this like later at night, like I said yesterday. So let's just go ahead and get into it. I've rambled enough.
Oh, what? When I deleted them? I was just kind of grossed out by him, to be honest with you. I was just like, I don't know what's going on right now. You just lied to me, and I don't want to see this come over my phone anymore. So I removed it.
So you already said that you removed text messages?
I deleted all of his stuff because he lied to me. I mean, that's what it was. It was the hurt that made me delete it, and then it was the lie that made me start questioning everything else he'd been telling me for the last few days.
And that's when you decided to come forward?
Yes.
During her interview on August 16th, Nicole Kessinger consented to a search of her phone, which she used to communicate with Chris. Investigators downloaded her iPhone 6 using XRY software and returned the phone to her after the download was complete. On August 23rd, Kessinger agreed to have the Colorado Bureau of Investigation download one again using a different software called Celebrite in an attempt to possibly recover more information. Okay, so I want to go back to the screenshot real quick and just go into a little bit more detail about this. So if you guys remember, as it says, she went into, Thornton Police Department on August 16, 2018. This is with her interview with her dad. She willingly turned over her phone. They got her to turn over her phone. No password on it, not encrypted. It wasn't damaged. There was no bleach bit used. Hi, Shani. There was no there was no resetting of the phone or wiping her phone clean, because we have her other XRY software that was released that shows all her phone calls and whatnot. Like, so if she would have wiped her phone, we wouldn't have any of that other information or her internet searches or anything like that. So, and I know at the beginning of this investigation, a lot of people thought that she did indeed wipe her phone, and that's just not the case. So I just want to clear that up. So when she was in that interview on August 3rd or 16th, I'm sorry, she willingly handed over her phone. They did an XRY, and we're going to get into what XRY is and Celebrate is. They're just different mobile forensic companies. So, and when you're doing mobile forensics, you want to use more than one different like device, because some may have things that other devices don't. So you want to, be able to use all those to really get all the information that you need. So they run the XRY software when she turns her phone over on the August 16th interview, which is just a quick, pull the data. You're pretty much just mirroring the data from her device to their machine, and then they get the information. They get the data. Hey, Star Tracker. Yeah, we're gonna try this again. Thank you for being here. You're in Australia? That's cool. All right. So hands her phone over. They copy her information with the XRY software to the phone, and law enforcement actually gives her phone back to her. Like, why would you give a phone that's very crucial in an investigation with information on it, so that she can potentially go home, delete more information, or use her phone enough to where it overrides the information, it would take some time to do that. Obviously, she only deleted it 2 or 3 days prior to um, going into law enforcement and giving her interview. Hey, Collins. So, as investigators, you don't give that evidence back until you make sure that you have all of the necessary information that you need. Like, you don't give it back. You confiscate that phone, you keep it. Yeah, exactly, Shan. So it's just very, like, to me, not real life. That's the only thing that I can use to describe this case because it's not real life. And you don't really have to be like an investigator or like in law enforcement to know that it's common sense. Like, why would you give back evidence in a case? And it may lead up to having to do with like, hey, Callie, having to do with like having a warrant or whatever, but she willingly turned her phone over. And if they would have treated her like a suspect, then they could say, you're not leaving here you're not leaving here with this piece of evidence until we get the information that we need. But however, she was never treated as a suspect, which is crazy, Justice. It's absolutely insane. And I've seen this before, and I'm not going to even mention the other case, but I've seen it before in another one of these orchestrated events. Is the person closest to the killer, to the accused, was never investigated. And usually, and when you're dealing with a homicide case, if you're the person that finds the body, you're automatically a suspect. If you're the person that calls 911, you're automatically a suspect. It doesn't matter. If you're in the general vicinity, you're automatically a suspect until you're ruled out. So the fact that she wasn't investigated is just beyond absolute craziness and ridiculous. Yeah, and like the dad telling the interrogator what to do. And of course, Callie, people will argue with that and say, well, she wasn't a suspect. And so she was just in there at her free will, giving an interview or whatever. But again, in real life, she was the closest person to this guy whose family members were missing, and not only were missing, but also come to find out that they were deceased based off the official narrative. So um it's just, if she in real life was treated as a suspect, we wouldn't be here right now. If they did what they were supposed to do in an actual investigation, people wouldn't try to be figuring out if Nicole Kessinger was guilty or not guilty or had anything to do as any part of that narrative if law enforcement didn't drop the ball and did what they needed to do. But there is a reason, not a cover-up reason, but there's a reason why they didn't recover her text messages. It's a tactic that they use. They don't have to go through all that trouble to convince the majority of people that this event actually happened. Hey, secret weapon. And I will get, if you're still here, remind me, I will get into that whole where Shanann and the girls thing. Like, I don't have all the answers as far as that goes, but I want to kind of concentrate just on this video. I don't want to get like off track, Star Tracker. So remind me if you're still here, and I'll see if I have time to answer that. Hey, Joy. That's okay. Thanks for being here. In the new release footage, he points it to CBI officer and chastises him. Yeah, I know. That's pretty crazy. But again, like I said, the argument is, well, she wasn't a suspect, so her father was allowed to be there, which is just how convenient, right? So, okay, so like I was saying earlier, I got off track a little bit there, but so she handed over her phone on the 16th. They gave it back to her after they ran the XRY software. Again, why would you give back like evidence when you got to make sure that you got everything you need before you hand back that evidence to someone. I don't care if you're just a witness or whatever, like, you got to make sure, because if she goes home and she like deletes more information, if you don't know, she could potentially be a suspect. So the fact that they gave her phone back to her is just absolutely ridiculous. Okay, so it says, while at the Thornton Police Department, her cellular telephone was downloaded using the XRY software. As a backup and an effort to possibly recover more information, I requested that Nicole allow the Colorado Bureau of Investigation to download her phone again using a different software tool called Celebrite. So like I said, XRY and Celebrite are mobile forensics software used to extract information from phones in investigations. So now they're trying a different one and like I said, different device that might have more, options on it or whatever, more capabilities that can retrieve possibly those deleted text messages. Even though they should have done that before they gave her phone back. So we're talking about like 2 weeks here before that she had time to go and delete more stuff and erase evidence potentially. So it's like, okay, now you guys, like 2 weeks later, you wanna, do another mobile forensic software, extraction on her phone? Okay, yeah, nice call, law enforcement. Okay, so Nicole consented to another search of her phone and agreed to come to CBI office and provide me her phone. Nicole arranged to transfer her phone service to another phone which she had previously used. Again, why is she allowed to have her phone? Why is she allowed to transfer phones? Like, no, you get this person's phone. You're talking about a quadruple homicide here. And they're saying, oh, it's so important, so important. Yeah, and her SIM card is actually just irrelevant as far as that goes. The SIM card only holds information like about the phone, about the owner of the phone. It doesn't actually hold any like data on there, which I know that some people are confused about. So the fact that the whole thing about her breaking your SIM card really doesn't mean anything as far as like getting the data from it. So she transferred her phone. She did the whole thing where she went to Verizon, got a different phone, and then it says here when Nicole transferred her phone service from her current phone to her older phone, the Samsung S5, multiple text messages, which are those screenshots that we see, that's the only messages that we got. They did not recover any deleted text messages from her phone, regardless of anybody who says they did not recover them. And I find it very hard to believe that just random messages that she deleted would just happen to pop up when she transferred, her or switched phones. And they told us nothing, right? They talked about food and going on a date or whatever. Like absolutely nothing to help us out as far as like the investigation goes. So multiple text messages, which she had previously reported as deleted, were recovered on her old phone. Attempts were made to download Nicole's older telephone using Celebrate at the CBI. The phone was unable to be downloaded. Probably because she switched phones. Probably because you guys didn't even bother to make her, change her Google. Remember the whole thing? I don't remember my Google password. I don't remember. I'm such a ditz. I don't recall. No, like Matt Saylor, the IT expert should have said, no, we're going to figure out, I'm going to sit next to you and we're going to recover your Google password. It's not hard, honey. You go in there and you say, forgot password. You go and, hey, new fish. And you go in there and say I forgot my email or I forgot my password. They send it to your email. It's not hard. There's multiple ways to recover text messages as well using non-invasive ways so you don't always have to use mobile forensics, especially since they had everything going for them. The phone wasn't damaged, it wasn't wiped, it wasn't passcode protected or password protected, excuse me. And so they could have used other ways to recover her data, but they just didn't even bother to do that. So we have to completely disregard that because they didn't do it based off what the discovery is telling us and what we saw in her thing. They did not even try to get her to recover her password for Google. They didn't even try to go into her cloud. They did nothing like that. They just went straight to this downloading it from this mobile forensics. Okay, so it says, Nicole, send me the text messages, which were the screenshots. They weren't actually from her data or from her data dump of the recovered text between her and Christopher Watts. Okay, and those are just the screenshots that were only like 10, and there was like duplicates as well. Absolutely pointless. Help us zero. Using a different software called Celebrate in an attempt to possibly Okay, so simply stated, when you delete text messages from your phone, so if you're trying to hide anything from like a boyfriend or a husband or wife or whatever, like if you delete or if you want to like, or sell your phone, whatever, let's not all say that everybody's like cheating, but um when you delete text messages, they are never physically deleted. They go in what's called the allocated space of your phone. And I like to call it like, or compare it to like the catacombs. So, like, they're deeply in the ground, like, they're there, but they're just very hard to find. So, unless you know, like, you're an IT expert or you're really good with mobile forensics or mobile phones, like your average phone owner would not be able to locate those deleted text messages, but they are, however, still there. So they can be accessed by, like I said, someone that knows about mobile phones, or law enforcement. So the only way that it's gonna get overwritten or deleted is when it needs to make room for new data. So as it mentioned in that article, if there's a significant amount of time that goes by and you're using that data, it will eventually be overwritten. Now, since Nicole Kessinger had only just deleted the text messages and the data, some of the data off her phone, just 2 or 3 days prior to going into law enforcement, it's very highly unlikely that those text messages would have been overwritten. So the fact that they let her leave with that phone again, and then 2 weeks later or whatever amount of time goes by, that there's more time for that woman to use her phone and potentially have that data overwritten to make room for new incoming data, if that makes sense. So far, law enforcement has everything in their favor in order to get these like, even if they, let's say, they tried all the non-invasive ways or the third-party apps to recover text messages and whatnot, or the cloud or Google. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Say they did try that, it didn't work. They still have everything in their favor going to get these to be able to get these deleted text messages from Nicole Kessinger's phone, because it's was not password protected or encoded, it was not damaged, and she did not do a factory reset. So there's nothing stopping law enforcement from getting these deleted text messages if they truly wanted to. Investigators use logical, file system, and physical. Logical extraction is the quickest, easiest, and least intrusive, but it is also the most limited. This method makes it easy for investigators to work with data on the phone, but it does not recover any data contained in the unallocated space. Okay, so again, this is the most like easiest way, and this is pretty much what they did on her when she first came into that August 16th interview that I just talked about. Hey, doing life my way. So this is the easiest way. You're just going to get your basic information, like phone numbers, maybe some internet history or whatever, just the information about the phone that you would get from the SIM card and the phone owner's information and stuff like that. So you're not going to be able to get that deleted data that goes into the allocated space by just simply doing a regular, simple, logical extraction. File system extraction is a step up from logical extraction and contains a lot more information. It also includes files not directly accessible to the user. It does not extract data in the unallocated space. Physical extraction has the greatest potential and contains a lot more information. Okay, so again, like the file system, a little bit more advanced. You're going to get a little bit more information, but you're still not going to get that deleted data, especially the text messages. It also includes files not directly accessible to the user. It does not extract data in the unallocated space. Physical extraction has the greatest potential for recovering data from iOS devices. This method can access additional data layers in both allocated and unallocated space. It is able to bypass the operating system, giving access to protected and deleted data. This image shows the three methods used and what kind of data each one is able to extract. As you can see, the physical method is the only one that is capable of extracting deleted data. Of course, factors will come into play depending on the time frame for when the data was deleted, as mentioned earlier. If the device is password protected or encrypted, or if the device is damaged. If an iPhone is encrypted or locked, a physical extraction is out of the question. Fortunately, Kessinger had only deleted the data a couple of days before coming to police. With her passcode, investigators would have no problem using all three methods. On page 2081 of the discovery, it shows that an advanced logical extraction was used. This method combines the logical and file system. Okay, sorry, I just want to backtrack here real quick. Okay, so again, if we have to go based off of what they're saying in the discovery for some of the information. I know it's hard to do because it's like we don't know what's truthful and what's not. What is, in my opinion, based off my theory, obviously, if you guys have been following me, none of it's truthful. It's a made up discovery. It's a story. Okay, but again, if we have to go based off of the narrative, when I'm seeing this and they're admitting to the fact in their own discovery, in their own documents, in their case files of the investigation, they're admitting that they did not do what they needed to do in order to recover Nicole Kessinger's text messages, even though they kept saying, hey, Nicole Kessinger, it's really important that we get these deleted text messages to make sure that you weren't involved or rule out anything like that. Even though you're not being treated as a suspect, we got to make sure because we're talking about a quadruple homicide case here. I mean, that's kind of a big deal. So they're saying one thing and then they literally did another. Like, how many times do we hear go back say that how important it was that they get those messages, but then they never even bothered to do what they needed to do to get those deleted text messages from her. So it's like, okay, which one is it, law enforcement? So item 43, Kessinger's personal phone. Celebrate report, Apple device, advanced logical. This is very, very important. Device is an Apple iPhone 6S, serial number, yada, yada, yada. Operating system, okay. And it says the device is devoid of any calls, messages, photographs, or videos involving Watts. There is no listing for Watts number in the device contact list. So I circled this simply because it's just stating that there's no information. She didn't delete her entire phone, like I mentioned earlier. She only deleted the contents from her and Chris, pretty much. So everything else was on there, her pictures that she sent to other people, whatever, like her phone calls and everything like that. So that's important as well, because as I mentioned earlier, a lot of people thought that she had wiped her entire phone, and that's just simply not the case. Advanced logical extractions. This method combines the logical and file system extractions into one. This option helps users overcome the pain of long and complex extractions, saving time and effort while maintaining forensically sound data. Okay, so an advanced logical, you guys, is simply the logical that we went over in the video and the file system combined. So you're going to get those two, that combination of the two, so you're going to get more data. However, you are not going to get the deleted data here in the red or any of the hidden files like her text messages that you would from a physical extraction. So again, the logical and the file system is what they call a advanced logical. So again, more advanced, gonna get more information. You're just not gonna get that deleted data that they were going for. It does not include the physical, therefore the deleted data cannot be recovered with this method. We now know that investigators used an advanced logical extraction on Kessinger's phone, but is there any evidence of a physical extraction? On page 2078 of the discovery, it states, Agent Darren Ford conducted logical extractions of data from these phones. In conversations with Ford, he advised the Northern Colorado Forensics Laboratory does not possess technology to perform physical data extractions from Apple devices. Okay, again, super important. Hey, babe, thanks for being here. So this is, again, really, really important. Agent Darren Ford conducted this straight from the discovery, you guys. You know, this is what law enforcement is telling us. They're literally telling us this. Agent Darren Ford conducted logical extractions of data from these phones. In conversations with Ford, he advised that the Northern Colorado Forensics Laboratory does not possess technology to perform physical data extractions from Apple devices. Well, that's very, very telling, considering that you have to do again, if those non-invasive way or less invasive ways, like the third-party apps and stuff like that, if those don't work, like recovering the Google password or the cloud or whatever, or some sort of third-party app that you can use to recover your own delete. You don't need to be an IT expert to recover deleted data, especially when the phone's not locked or anything like that. So does not possess technology to perform physical data extractions from Apple devices. That is the only way that they would be able to recover those deleted text messages. This is why, you guys, that we did not get those deleted text messages. It's not because they redacted them. It's not because they didn't want to show us. No, they're literally admitting in their own discovery investigation that they did not do what they needed to do in order to recover those deleted text messages, even though they said multiple times how important it was to them, to this investigation, dealing with a quadruple homicide case based off the official narrative, how important it was to get those deleted text messages from Nicole Kessinger. They didn't even try. They're admitting it. Okay?
Since investigators did not use a physical method, it made it impossible to recover any deleted text messages. This might explain why the only messages in the discovery were screenshots she sent to Agent Kobach.
Okay. So these are the ones that were recovered, these screenshots. And a lot of people thought that they actually did recover the deleted text messages because we got these screenshots. These are not from an actual mobile investigation or a mobile forensics data extraction report. These are the screenshots that Nicole Kessinger gave to Kobach, sent to Kobach, when she said that they allegedly, popped up in her phone when she switched her phone before going into law enforcement for the second time, which I find that very, very hard to believe that just messages she deleted would just happen to pop up. It's how convenient. There's a lot of convenient things that happen in this case. So, and of course, like I said, a lot of them were duplicates, and they told us nothing. Like going to the IMAX movies, talking about what they ate, talking about eating desserts, simply gave us nothing. But again, a lot of people in the true crime community thought that they actually did recover these text messages because we're looking at screenshots of them, but that's just simply not the case again.
They allegedly had been recovered when she switched the service over to her old Android phone, and most of them are duplicates. On Celebrite's website, there is a section that explains how they can help law enforcement agencies extract data and help build a case. Why didn't the CBI contact Celebrite to order the device or ask for Celebrite services if the Northern Colorado Forensics Laboratory did not have the proper equipment that is able to do physical extraction?
Okay, so you can actually go, and I appreciate that, Star Tracker. I just appreciate you being here just in general as well. So you can actually go to these Celebrite companies, and I'm sure I'm going to go over it again in the video, but I just wanted to, go into a little bit more detail about it. You can go to the Celebrite companies. You can go to the XRY software companies. You can purchase the devices that you need in order to get those physical extractions. So what law enforcement was saying in that screenshot from the discovery is the Northern Colorado Forensics Laboratory that they used to get their mobile forensics devices from didn't possess the device in order to do those physical extractions. So the XRY that they ran and the Celebrite device that they had only made it possible to run those advanced logical extractions, and you're not going to get that deleted data from it. But they're accessible. You can purchase them. You can purchase them from the Celebrite or XRY website. You can purchase them from third-party websites, like IT websites. You can actually purchase them on eBay, which I will get to in this video coming up.
If for some reason Celebrite was unable to help, you can purchase the device on this website or, believe it or not, eBay. Investigators knew they had to do a physical extraction in order to get deleted text messages off a device. So why was there such a lack of effort on their part? Why didn't they buy one for their own forensics department? Granted, it would have cost anywhere from $2,000 to $9,000, but wouldn't it be worth it considering it was such a high-profile case and 4 people lost their lives? Why does it seem like such sloppy investigative work? Either way, there's no excuse for it, and you really have to ask yourself why.
Okay, so this next one I'm going to play is pretty much the same information, but it's just going to be in like simplistic form. So I'm just going to play it all the way through. And there's no sound, just so you guys know. I just threw this together real quick. This is just pretty much everything I went over, but
I need you to log into Google.
I was trying to figure this out. I don't know.
Oh, okay. That might be an issue.
I know. I mean, if you guys really can't do it, I'm trying to go through and figure out.
There's another way we can do it, or we can try.
Man, I'm usually really good about passwords, but this one.
this is supposed to be the IT expert. Keep in mind, the guy in front of her, Matt Saylor.
I don't know. I really don't. I haven't done some of this before you walked in here.
Okay. And that's the only way you can download apps, right?
Let's do this.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll have to figure it out.
I'm not an Android guy, so I don't know.
I don't know.
He's not an Android guy.
I haven't used an Android phone in like 2 years.
Okay.
I guess I'll have to figure this out. That sucks, but it's okay.
Well, there's another thing that we can try. Nope. Did you have a text message on? So when I looked at to hide Wi-Fi, I think you got a couple more extra.
Oh, I got these. Yeah, this came in on my other phone. This was like right when I transferred.
So I think your contacts should be connected to iCloud now. So you shouldn't lose them. And we can try and use our download machine that we use to download the phones. You can also transfer. I've never done that, so I don't know how it's going to work. Give it a shot.
Okay. I just thought it would be so nice because I was looking at these messages and I was like, oh my god, like, don't know.
sure I could figure it out pretty quick if I read the text.
Yeah, he did, Kelly.
Okay.
For you, it just saved me a lot of time and stress.
All right. So, again, people to this day in the true crime community are still trying to like figure out why we don't have her text messages. Why they weren't recovered, why they weren't released to us. This is why. They did not do, Buddy says hello. They did not do what they needed to do in order to retrieve those deleted text messages. You have to do, if all else fails, if those other non-evasive strategies fail, which they didn't even bother to do, but let's just say again they did and those failed, you have to do a physical extraction on an iOS device in order to retrieve those deleted text messages. They did not do that. Their excuse was that they did not possess the technology from that Northern Colorado Forensics Laboratory. They did not possess that technology in order to do physical extractions. Okay, fine. You don't have the technology to do it. All right, that's makes sense. Maybe you guys don't spend a lot of money on it. No, they do. And there's receipts to prove it that I put in another video. And I might have had it in this video and I wasn't paying attention. But I found actual receipts that show that the CBI spends money yearly, a lot of money yearly on these devices. Now they are, they can range anywhere from a couple grand up to like $10,000 for these devices. But if you're talking about a quadruple homicide case and how big this case was, why wouldn't the CBI or Frederick Police Department find a device that you can get from the company itself? You can have the company like do it for you if you really needed to. If you said, hey, we're dealing with a quadruple homicide case here, you can get it from online websites. You can even get it from eBay. So you're telling me, CBI, Frederick Police Department, that you just didn't have the technology to do physical extraction. So knowing if you're an IT expert and you know about mobile forensics, they should very well know that you have to do that physical extraction to get those text messages. Hey, KH, they did not do that. So either they are incompetent or stupid, and they, like Matt Saylor, doesn't even know about Android phones, and he's the one working on a quadruple homicide case. You didn't even bother to get her to try to recover her Google password. Like it's clearly incompetence, or it could be the fact that they didn't bother to do it because they don't have to do an actual real investigation to convince the majority of people that this case is real. That's why they didn't bother to investigate the mistress who should have been a suspect. That's why they didn't bother to interrogate her. That's why they didn't bother to recover her text messages. So they put in their own discovery, they admitted that they did not do what they needed to do to recover them. And people to this day, it drives me crazy. They're still like, no, they redacted her text messages. No, they didn't. They are admitting in their own discovery. If these channel creators are going to base all their facts off of this discovery and all their findings, then they're admitting to these channel creators and these people in the true crime community, they did not do what they needed to do. They did not do those physical extractions on her phone to get those deleted text messages. Had they done that, we would not be sitting here 3.5 years later trying to figure out if the mistress had a role in any of this based off the official narrative. But they didn't bother to do it. So everybody's like trying to still figure out if Nicole Kessinger is guilty. So if whatever the case, if you think this case is real and you want to blame it on incompetence and stupidity from law enforcement or laziness from law enforcement, then that works too. Either way, it's a huge red flag and a huge inconsistency in their investigation. I mean, you guys are law enforcement are like literally not you guys. Law enforcement is literally admitting that they did not do what they needed to do to recover those text messages. Now they could be lying. They could have just made it up and said that, and maybe they did recover them and they just put in their discovery that didn't have the device to do the physical extraction, but it's contradicting what they're saying in their interviews with Nicole Kessinger. It's really important, Nicole Kessinger, that we get these. We have to do what we need to do. We need you to come back in again, give your phone again, so we can do another extraction on your mobile extraction on your phone, so that we can try to recover those text messages. But they're not even bothered doing what they need to do to recover them. So they're full of shit. They're straight up full of shit. They did not do what they needed to do to recover those deleted. And that's why we do not have Nicole Kessinger's text messages. Hey, round and round. Or find an Android guy or find someone who knows what he's doing. Yeah. But I'm not a mobile forensics expert. I did a lot of research on this physical extraction stuff. And mobile forensics. I don't need to be an IT specialist in a crime scene unit or a homicide unit to know that you have to do physical extractions on Apple devices to get those deleted texts. Yeah, and babe, that's also another thing is, um, if let's say for instance, if the phone is, hey Elizabeth, if the phone is password protected or encoded or whatever, or it's jailbroken, like it makes it more difficult for them as law enforcement goes, as far as law enforcement goes, to get into someone's phone, because that like iPhone does have like a privacy policy, like a really big privacy policy, or strict, not big, privacy policy on for their owners of their phone or whatever, for device owners, whatever. But considering that she willingly gave up her phone to law enforcement and it was not password protected, it was not damaged, and it was not encrypted, it was not jailbroken, and it was not factory reset, law enforcement had everything going for them when it came to recovering that data. Good night, Secret Weapon. Thank you for being here. So, I've done this, I've talked about this several times, and I'm still hearing, like, I know it doesn't help when my channel's super small, but I'm still hearing people trying to figure out why Nicole Kessinger's text messages were not released. And that is why I'm telling people, it's in the discovery. If they did the research like I did, how many times have people gone over and over and over this discovery? If you just do a little digging into mobile forensics, you'll know that the law enforcement's full of shit. Who cares if it costs 10 grand to get, if they supposedly didn't have possess the device to perform a physical extraction? Spend 10 grand. If you're talking about a quadruple homicide case, if you want to find answers and make sure that everybody guilty based on the official narrative is behind bars, and you did a thorough investigation, you're going to spend that 10 grand to get it, no matter how much it costs. And not only that, as I mentioned a little bit ago, there's receipts that prove that they spend money yearly. The CBI and Frederick Police Department, Colorado, spends thousands of dollars yearly on mobile forensic devices. But they didn't bother to do it. So I wish people would stop saying, like, they're redacting them, or they didn't bother, they redacted them, or they didn't show us, it's a cover up, they're keeping it from us. No, they admitted in their own discovery, in their own investigation, they did not do what they needed to do. Even though they said over and over again how important it was to get those messages, they did not do that physical extraction, knowing when you have people that are experts and ITs working these homicide cases, and that's all they do, they're trained to do this. They should know better. They do know that you have to do a physical extraction, and that's why they mentioned it in the discovery. We did not possess the device in order that is capable of doing those physical extractions. We're never going to get those text messages of Nicole Kessinger's. You can do Quora requests, you can do FOIA requests. If we're supposed to believe what they're telling us, that they did not do that physical extraction, then there are no deleted text messages to be released ever on this case. And even if they lied and they just were making it up, saying that they didn't possess the device to perform a physical extraction just so that they didn't have to release it, that's still, pretty disturbing in itself that they would lie in an investigation. But you think that they're going to come out and say, oh, hey, we lied. We do have our text messages. Now that you did a FOIA request, sure, we'll release them. No, because then that's going to make them look even more incompetent. So, that I just want to clear up, and hopefully this video will get some more views. I will post both of these videos in the description, so anybody that's watching this replay, they can go back and just watch it fully, and you can watch as many times as you want. But I did want to go into more detail about it. And these videos that I'm going over, these part 1, part 2, and part 3s, they're super important to the case. And a huge, huge inconsistency and a red flag on behalf of law enforcement. Now, obviously, based off my theory, know why they did this. Because again, they don't have to go through all that trouble to convince the majority of people that this case actually happened. Like, actually investigate the mistress. Actually not end an investigation just because somebody confesses. Like, there's so many things that don't add up in this case, and there's so many people that realize that, but people need to look at this case from a different perspective. It's not a cover-up. It's not a incompetence by law enforcement. It's these little tactics that they use to push these narratives out onto the public and convince the majority of people that it's real. And cherry picking the information that they give us. So they don't have to give us everything in order to convince us and go through all that trouble to convince us that it happened. They don't even have to investigate the mistress in order to convince the majority of people that this case is real. But it's tactics like that they use to push that narrative. And of course, the true crime community has a heyday with it, because if they gave us those text messages, then what would the true crime community have to discuss for 3.5 years? Whether or not Nicole Kessinger is guilty or not, based off the official narrative. So, I think I'll obviously rename the title, and I'll just I'll name it something about the text message thing. But I think I will end it there. I just wanted to, try out Restream, see if we can make it through without too much buffering. But again, these videos that I'm going over are very, very important to the case and to my theory on it. So please share it out to as many people as possible. I hate to sound like a broken record all the time, and releasing unfortunately, there's just no information that's going to come out in this case. This whole thing with her video coming out again is inevitable. It happens all the time. Frankie Jr. They say, don't, Rusick say, stop talking about the case. We don't want you talking about the case. Then the brother of Shanann Watts releases her video interview that nobody could get their hands on. Now everybody's talking about the case again when it was just dying down. They always release new breaking information that nothing ever comes from it. Yes, Star Tracker Jack. So, questions like that, as far as if this case, I know you've asked me in the comments, if this case is fake, then where are Shanann and the girls, if they're alive? That's just information that I unfortunately don't know. If I knew where they were, I wouldn't be sitting here trying to, hey Molson man, I wouldn't be sitting here trying to do all this research and give out this information in order to not make people see, but try to make people see the orchestrated aspects of this case. But to me, well, where's Nicole Kessinger? Are they actors? Are the families members really? Are the families really real families? If I had those answers, I wish I did, but I just don't. I can only point out the inconsistencies, the red flags, and all of these same characteristics that I see over and over again with orchestrated events, whether it be a terrorist attack, whether it be a school shooting, whether it be a small mainstream media or local news story, or whether it be all the way up to a quadruple homicide case. I go with consistency and patterns, and I'm seeing the same patterns over and over and over again. And I'm giving reasons as to why, like I said, why Nicole Kessinger's text messages were recovered, why she disappeared, why the family members are behaving like this. And that's another thing, Star Tracker, is because I'm not seeing the behavior that I would see from actual family members who are victims of a horrific crime. We're seeing two families that are contradicting themselves and hypocritical over and over and over again. Like, why aren't the Ruseks saying, "Hey, Rourke, why is your investigation not adding up? Why are there so many inconsistencies? Why did you tell us that the girls were alive when they left the house, and then weeks later you tell us that they possibly they were alive?" Like, that's a huge discrepancy in DA Rourke's investigation. And so the fact that the Ruseks are not questioning all the red flags and inconsistencies that everyone in the true crime community is another huge red flag to me. They should be, as real family members, they should be victims of a crime, a horrific crime. They should be staying away from social media. They should not be engaging themselves in the actual true crime community, where all we do is talk about the deaths of their family members. And then they wouldn't be promoting the case or publicizing the case by going on Dr. Phil, by working with Netflix, and then turn around and say, "Hey, you channel creators on YouTube are not allowed to talk about a highly publicized case. We're going to bring the law into this. We're going to sue you. We're going to take you down. So you can't talk about my sister or my nieces or my nephew anymore." That you can't do that. They are trying to take away free speech. The Ruseks have a motive. And so that's I just look at things from a different perspective, like Star Tracker. So again, it's not I wish I had the answers as to why people would agree to do this, how they were able to get all this information, like the wedding pictures and stuff like that. But a lot of these cases, especially or events, especially the bigger ones, are planned years in advance. So it's very likely that this case was planned way before any of this happened on August 13th, 2018. I mean, I know it doesn't help a lot because I don't, I wish I knew where Shannon and the girls were, but based off of the lack of evidence on the case, no autopsy photos, the behavior from both family members, there's just so much, and it's a lot to cover. And just, I mean, I could do a whole live stream just covering that one question that you have. So, but I have mentioned it in several. I sent you that link where I covered those questions that a lot of my skeptics seem to ask for, and they're good questions. Like, I mean, where are they if they're alive? And like I said, I wish I knew. I wish I could tell you that, but I don't know the answers. So, yeah. And why didn't you buy the device? Yeah, exactly, Callie. All right, guys. Well, thank you everyone so much for being here. I will be doing more of these, going over some more of my important videos, like the symbolism, and more into maybe the conspiracy side of it, but still very, very important, and to everything that's going on. So I will also put a link to my Chris Watts playlist in the about section. So like all my really not the live streams, but yes, healthy skeptic is I can't say that word. I'm just gonna go now. I appreciate your question, Star Tracker. But yeah, so I will put the links to both of the mobile forensics, and I'll put the Chris Watts playlist in the description as well. Thank you everyone for being here on such short notice. I know I didn't like really schedule it. So I appreciate everyone, and I'll see you guys next time.